Okay, whatever Rabbi say. I see Noach, I feel good. I feel like I'm back in the Teva. It's like it's something about Noach's beautiful face. Okay, let's start. Parashat Vayishlach. Vayishlach Yaakov malachim lefanav. Okay, before we start, I want to address something very, very interesting. First of all, this week's parasha talks about a lot of things, a lot of different concepts. And the truth is, there's a certain topic that I want to touch on. I said before it's a bit controversial, but I'm going to say it anyways because it needs to be said. Mitzvah of kivud avayim, respecting one's parents. How crucial and how important this mitzvah is. It's so important that all of Yaakov's suffering in his life is because of this specific mitzvah. And today we're gonna, we're gonna get into it. You know, if you ask yourself a question, and you can ask questions in the middle of the class, this is like open. Yaakov Avinu being scared. It's weird. Why would he be scared? Where's your emunah? You know those people? I have faith in God. Rabbi, I don't need to work. Why? I believe God's going to just send me what I deserve. You know those people? Those people don't have emunah. Those people are lazy. They're lazy. After you die, one of the questions they're going to ask you, did you do your business faithfully? Faithfully. Did you have emunah? Did you do it proper? They didn't say, did you have emunah? They ask you, did you do business with emunah? Why? Because in order to have emunah, you need to first go out and work. If you don't go work, you're not going to have no faith. What are you doing? Who are you lying to yourself? Another Yoshka, I got pregnant from there. That's what's going to happen. Shtiyat. So we have to understand the concept of why Yaakov Avinu was so afraid. You know, Yaakov Avinu in the last week's parasha, his mother passes away. Rivka Imenu passes away. Oh yeah, one spoon. He was so afraid. He was so afraid and so upset in a way that Esav did the whole funeral by himself. He wasn't there to bury his own mother. Imagine you traveling, your mother she's still living, and you find out on the way that you're traveling back home, it took him a while to get home, that his mother passed away. Such a hurtful feeling. And the Mefarshim say that, the Kli Yakar says, you know why Yaakov Avinu was really scared of Esav? Because for the years that he was gone, for those 24 years that he was gone, who was doing the kivud avayim? Esav. And he was where? Choni Amak, in his father-in-law's house. We're in a generation, this is another reason why I said it's controversial. We don't understand this. We're in a generation that people think you have to be stuck up your wife's tuchas all the time. Very wrong concept. It's extremely wrong. You have to love her and respect her and give her all that she needs. It doesn't mean the second that you get married you forget about your parents, both women and men. It's a wrong understanding. The Ben Ish Chai writes down, before I continue, do you know why mitzvah of kivud avayim is right next to in the Aseret HaDivrot, in the 10 Commandments? Why is kivud avayim right next to keeping Shabbat? The Ben Ish Chai writes, because how does it start, the mitzvah of keeping Shabbat? Zechor, remember. The Ben Ish Chai writes, if you do kivud avayim, then Hashem is going to remember you. If you deny kivud avayim, then Hashem will not remember you.
To the parents?
To your parents. It goes on to the extent that the Stei Chemed, which was a Gadol Ador in his time, he controlled the country of population, like being the rabbi of the whole America. Bonagid, I think he was in Turkey. He said, even if your parents are blind and deaf, stupid and dumb, you hear what I'm telling you? Stupid and dumb. Let's say they're mamash dumb, you still have an obligation to respect them.
What about religious status?
We're going to get into that. Do you understand how severe this mitzvah is? You have to understand something. You're going to be parents one day. I don't think you understand the scope of the situation. You're going to have kids one day. And whoever's listening, most probably you have kids already. And the same way, and this is true. This is true. And how do we know this? A woman one time came to the Hafetz Chaim. I'm mixing my whole shiur right and left. And once you start speaking as a speaker, all everything that you organize how to speak goes out the window. A lady one time went to the Hafetz Chaim, we're talking about 150 years ago, and said, listen, Rabbi Israel, it's hard for me. Maybe I just, I put my mother in a Beit Avot. In a, what's it called? Nursing home. Listen, I have to take care of my kids. I have my husband. I gotta cook, clean. My mother is, it's just another headache. I love her. Kvod Harav, don't get me wrong. I'll die for her, but I won't live for her. You know what the Chafetz Chaim told her? He said, listen, if you're right and wrong, I don't know. But I'll tell you one thing. A person that treats his mother and father properly, he will be treated properly when he will get older. A person that neglects his parents, he will get neglected. I want you to imagine this scope of understanding. From the second you're born until the second that your parents die, they're always worrying about you. Do you hear what I just told you? I don't think you understood. From the second you are born until the second that they're dead. And if you go according to the Kitvei Ari, it's even after their death. It's even after their death that they're there thinking about you, worrying for you, praying for you. They're there. And you have the guts, the audacity to say, oh, my mother, she's so annoying. Ignore. Ignore. Yeah, don't get me wrong. Unfortunately, there are parents that are very tough. That are very, not just tough, very stubborn, very ununderstanding, Bonagid. There is. I'm not saying you are one of them or you have parents like that, but there is such a concept. There is. It exists. You still have the obligation to respect them. You have that obligation. And if you're a parent like that, know that the Gemara says as follows. It's not my words. Masech Kiddushin says as follows. Praised is the one that was born an orphan, for he never experienced the pain of respecting his parents. Talks about Abaye. Abaye grew up an orphan. He grew up in his uncle's house. How is that possible? Tana, how can you praise such a person that grew up as an orphan? You know why? Because he never fell on the sin of not respecting his parents. It's the hardest mitzvah in the world. The hardest mitzvah. People are looking for rare mitzvah. Du kivud avayim is the rarest mitzvah. Du kivud avayim, do it properly. The halakha Shulchan Aruch says if your father comes and takes all your money from your wallet and throws it to the yam, to the sea, you can't say anything. Just imagine such a concept. To that extent, we have to respect our parents. To that extent, we have to show appreciation. And if not, Yaakov Avinu, this week's parasha. He comes back and he sees who? Why was he scared? He was so scared of Esav, not because of Esav. He didn't care about Esav. He could have killed Esav like this, the Mefarshim say. He was scared for two reasons. Number one, he was scared that Yitzchak passed away. Why? Because he knew as long as Yitzchak is alive, Esav wouldn't touch him. The fact that Esav was coming his way, he thought also he lost his father. And it killed him even more. He said, now I lost my mother, I have to lose my father. Him, I can't do the mitzvah kivud avayim. He was hurting him. That's why he was scared. He was scared because he knew that for the 24 years that he was away, not counting the 14 years he was in yeshiva, but the 24 years that he was away from his parents, he was scared. Why? Because all the merits that Esav has is because of what? That he was serving his parents while he was away. And what do we do in the 21st century? None of you, of course. This is not even a question. You guys are not under that category. But what do people do? Selfish. They only care about themselves. They're forgetting that once upon a time they were a little kid, and the parent didn't sleep for you, and didn't do anything for you, and worried for you, and gave you, and gives you, and will forever give you. And how do we show our appreciation? By pressing ignore? The Chazon Ish, which was the luminary of Eretz Yisrael in his time, one time was walking in Bnei Brak, and as the custom by the Jews is when the Talmid Chacham comes, there's a whole entourage with him. The Chazon Ish one time was walking, there was a little kid there, and the little kid looks at the Chazon Ish, he says, we all know you're a tzaddik, why do you need this entourage? Like, what's the point of it? And the Chazon Ish stopped, and he told the little boy, call your father here. And the little boy brought his father, and the Chazon Ish told this man, tell your son that the reason why I have this entourage is because until the day my mother passed away, I spent every day time with her. Every day, a half an hour, I would go to the house, have a cup of tea, and listen to whatever she wanted to say. Do you sometimes feel like you want to be heard? No one understands you. You can't talk to anyone. You can't. You know, your parents will also feel that sometimes. You know who they want to talk to, really? The kids. They want to talk to their daughter or to their son. But the son is dreaming about some girl, and the girl is dreaming about some guy, and they're dreaming about their schools, and they're dreaming about, after they're married, their kids, and their wealth, and everybody, and the parent is still waiting. When is my son going to have, or my daughter going to have time for me? 5, 10 minutes. And we don't see this as a crucial mitzvah. Why? Because we live in the 21st century of being selfish. I never yet saw any social media speaker yet talk about in so much power how you have to love and respect your parents. I never saw it yet. You have to love yourself, you have to be rich, you have to convert, you have to get watches and Bugattis and fight people. This is nonsense. Shtuyot. Where's the Kibbud Avayim? Where is it? Where did it go? Do you not understand Yaakov Avinu? Should I tell you his life story? I'll explain it to you. Maybe your hair is going to come up. The man went through suffering after suffering. I think he suffered more than David HaMelech, I'm telling you. Since the second he was conceived, he had the best chavruta. Esav. Esav. Do you understand that? That was his chavruta in his mother's stomach. From the second he came out of his mother's stomach until he left his parents' house, which was the age of 63, he had to stand and live with a man, which was Esav, that always wanted to conquer him over. That always thought he was better than him. When he left his father's house, besides for the 14 years being in Shem Ever, where did he end up? In his father-in-law's house. You know who his father-in-law was? You know who Lavan was? There was a mastermind manipulation person. He convinced his own son-in-law to marry 2 of his daughters. Can you imagine? Can you imagine such a thing? This was Lavan. And then he made him work for it. And after that, he didn't even pay him. He said, you want money? You gotta work harder. He didn't want to let go of him. And then what? He meets who? He meets his brother on the way. He's scared out of his wits that he's gonna die. And then what's the worst thing that can happen to a parent? His daughter gets raped. This week's parasha, Dinah gets raped. We're not going to talk about that topic today. And then what happens? His beloved wife that he loves the most, which is I think the greatest pain of all, passes away. And you know why she passed away? No one knows this. The Zohar Kadosh says in this week's parasha, you know why she passed away? Because she gave her father pain by stealing the idols. She was doing something right, no? She was doing something good. She stole his idols. What's the problem? What's the problem? She got punished. You gave your father tsar, you're going to die for it. Chas v'shalom lo aleinu. Who are we talking about? An idol worshiper. Do you know who we're talking about? Yeah, he's somewhere in our bloodline. But he wanted to la'akor, we read it in the Haggadah. He was the first person to want to destroy all Jewishness. He wanted to kill Yaakov Avinu. And Yaakov got punished, so did Rachel Imeinu. Why? Because she stole the idols. That's why she died. Unbelievable. Because she didn't do Kivud Avayim right. Because she caused her father Tsar, that Oved Avodah Zarah. Let's continue in the story. This is nothing. Yaakov Avinu said, that's it. I'm not traveling no more. I'm staying put. And what happens? His favorite son. No more. We're already going into next week's parasha. No more. What happened? Someone killed him. You know how many years he was suffering? Because his son, his favorite son, was gone. He lost prophecy. He lost everything. His life was the biggest misery. And you know how many years he suffered for? 24 years. You want to know why? Because those were the 24 years he missed on doing Kivud Avayim. I didn't hear what?
What is that Kivud Avayim?
Respecting your parents. Those years that he missed, he got punished for. What do you think? This world is shutka for you? Joke? Monopoly for you? Duraka for you? What do you think it is? Uno puno? No, my friend. Midah keneged midah. If you think life is a game, ya habibi, awram galgal. The world is a circle. What comes up must come down. What's down, one day will be up. Do not think that if you can be mishtolel, you can do devonegi, you're going to somehow get away from all the issues and problems that you have. And you know what? Let me tell you something. I understand that it sometimes can be very difficult to do Kivud Avayim. I do understand. I do. But you know what? They're your parents. They brought you down to this world. Not everything has to be dealt with a fight. Some things can be dealt normally with a normal conversation, with a normal understanding. Yes, there are 3 things you don't need to listen to your parents for. You should consult with them. We're not going to talk about that right now. But the majority, 99% of the Torah, you must listen. You have the obligation to have respect to your parents. There's another unbelievable story. When I heard this, I said to myself, they have to throw me down a cliff after I die. But listen to the story. Not a regular cliff, a cliff with a lot of rocks. There was a tzaddik. He lived in the time of the Rashash. The Rashash is known to be the greatest thinker in Kabbalah. Thinker, the greatest in Kabbalah. In his time, his part of his chabur, there was a tzaddik. His name was Rabbeinu Chizkiya Yitzchak. That was his name. Also Sfaradi. He had a chabur, he had students, and he said to his students, after I pass away, I need you to promise me something. Did any of you ever watch how they put someone, or saw it live when they put someone in a grave? So if you know the process is they have 6 guys, 2 guys on each side, 2, 4, 6, and they hold the rope and they lower the guy, the dead person, the met, slowly down. You know what he said? He said, don't lower me down slowly. Throw me in. It's like 8 feet down. He said, take my body and throw me in. He said, why? You know what he said? He said, I remember one time in my life, I gave tsar to my father. I said, what was the tsar? What was the pain that he gave his father? He said, I wanted to be a chazan in a shul. My father told me not to be. And either way, I told him, don't worry about it, I'm going to be. And I saw that it bothered him. And because of that, I want you to throw my body into the grave. And the Talmidim, his students, looked at him and said, what are you talking about? And I said, okay, we'll do it. Why? They didn't think, he lives forever, no one thinks of the day of death until they're dead. Unless you're a tzaddik. If you're a tzaddik, you think about the day of death all the time. The rabbi passed away, and the Talmidim come, and they time to bury him, and he's buried in Har HaZeitim. Anyone knows that Israel, Har HaZeitim is in the Muslim quarters. It's very dangerous to go there, but there's a lot of tzaddikim that are buried there. A lot of tzaddikim that are buried there. And his students come, they get to the place that they have to bury him, and they're all looking at each other. Who's throwing him in? And every student says to each other, I'm not throwing him in, forget about it. You gotta be crazy to think I'm gonna throw my rabbi's body into the grave. And they're fighting there for 10 minutes. They're fighting in the gravesite. Who's throwing the rabbi's body in? Suddenly, a whole bunch of Banziti Muslim come, and they got scared, they left the body, and they ran.
Wow.
They left the body and they ran.
So they threw him in.
They didn't throw him in, they left him over there.
No, the Muslims.
Oh, shh. The Muslims came, they saw, they didn't just throw him in.
Wow, they beat him.
They beat him.
Wow.
They made such a bizayon to his body.
He wasn't alive, right?
He was already passed away. You still feel it. They gave him bizayon. They took his body and they shoved him in.
Wow.
I tell you how I know this. They shoved him in.
You digged it up? No, I'm playing.
The rabbi goes to the dream of one of the Talmidim and he said, Shkoyach, thank you.
Wow.
He said, why? What happened? He said, the way that I got buried was the way I always dreamed I should get buried. He said, when you left, a whole bunch of Muslims came and they made such a bushot for my body. And now I have Nachat Ruach and Shamayim.
Wow.
Can you imagine what goes through a tzaddik's head before he dies? He's wishing for people to do bizayon to his body. Did you ever go? Nowadays we do something similar, but it's like Jet Kisad what we do. We take the body and we throw him up. You ever saw? You ever went to a levaya? They say take the body and throw him up, or they put a rock on top.
The rock on top is for that.
Why? To say that if the person was obligated death penalty of stoning, this is like a stoning. This comes from where? This comes from our time of the Chamim, that God forbid you should die and still have something on your head. And we say, who cares about these rabbis? You know how much these rabbis do before you die? This is show nothing. I have a book at home, my brother brought it. It's all about death. What the tzaddikim used to do before and after they died. For what? Just because they were scared of their avak, their sins that they did in this world. And we live freely. Ya habibi, shomer negiya down the drain. Waiting 6 hours meat and milk down the drain. Tzitzit and kippah down the drain. Sniyut, forget about it. Not down the drain. Doesn't it exist? Doesn't exist in this world. Chilul Hashem became popular. And then we cry, Rabbi, why have such a life? What do you mean, why have such a life? When you run after all the shtuyot, only shtuyot is going to run after you. But when you run after tahara and kedusha, only goodness is going to come after you. But Rabbi, I don't want to be the awkward sheep in the crowd. Ya Habibi, you're not even in a crowd. Everyone in that crowd only cares about themselves. A crowd is a people that think of as one. You're not in that oneness. You're just a bunch of people that are together. That's all you are. That's why a chabura of Talmidei Chachamim is greater than a chabura of businessmen. Because as long as a businessman knows that he has something in common with you, he's your friend. The second you have nothing in common with you, he'll forget about you. But a chabur of Talmidei Chachamim, they know they cannot live without another. Their only way of growing is being by connected with other tzaddikim. And that is the mission of Yaakov Avinu, what he was teaching us. This Yaakov Avinu, this our great-grandfather, yours and I, were related through blood because of him. Your blood and my, same DNA we have. Same exact DNA. Why? Because we come from this man. This man that was trembling that he didn't make the mitzvah of Kibud Avei.
Good question.
Go ahead.
Why are we taught that? So isn't disrespecting the body more respectful then? So why aren't we taught that, to do that? To throw it around and things. Why is that not the way we do it?
Because it's still an embarrassment. No?
Yeah.
My son was doing a report on 9/11. Book report. And I told him, I said, you want to see something interesting? You want to see people fly from the Twin Towers? He thought I was crazy. He said, what? I said, yeah, you want to see people jumping from the Twin Towers? And I meant it in a serious way. So a child should understand what life is all about. And I went online, I know which videos, and I pressed play. He saw people flying off the towers on the 90th floor, 80th floor. He went nuts. He went nuts. There's a story I'm going to tell you. This is a true story. There was a guy that worked on one of the towers, I think on the first tower. And he called his Rav. He said, Kvod Rav, I have an option right now. Either I'll die. I'm going to die. Either way I'm dying. But I'm going to die through the smoke of getting burnt, or I can throw myself out. What should I do?
Smoke. No.
Did you hear what I just told you? Do you imagine having such a question? You don't understand. Imagine having such a question in your life. Rabbi, what should I do? Should I die like this? Or should I die like this? Tell me, which way do you prefer me die? The rabbi was like, I don't know how to answer you. I don't know how to answer you. And the guy already had that he has to stay there. He cannot jump. He's not allowed to, because if he jumps, he might end his life a second earlier than what he's supposed to. And he died in his office under his desk. And it was the Mekayim in the midst of not killing himself. And when we ask ourselves, we have problem which shoes to buy in the grocery, in the store. What hairstyle looks more beautiful? A dead person is not asking that. When you're worried about how to survive, you're not saying, should this shoes look good before I die? Or this shoe? Maybe this watch, I should get this Rolex, or this, what other watches out there? I don't even know. Philippe Patek and all this stuff. Which one looks better? Huh? Which one looks better? Yeah, Habibi, that's what you're worried about in your life? Is that really the way you want to live your life? Full of gashmiut and physicality? Is really that what you want? No, you don't want it. The Satan gives you a little bit of a hitchomemut, makes you hot for it. So remember one thing. I'm going to finish with this story, and then we're going to go to the next topic that I want to get into. Rabbi Tzion Abba Shaul, there's a big mitzvah, at least by people that learn secrets of the Torah, there's a custom to kiss your mother's hand on Shabbat. Very important. People think it's the father's hand. No, it's really the mother's hand. Sorry for all the fathers out there. The big mitzvah to kiss your mother's hand, and when you get a blessing after from your father, there's no mitzvah on kissing his hand, but they do it anyways, because they say, oh, you kiss your mother's, not mine. There's a mitzvah to kiss your mother's hand before Kiddush. To walk into the house after you pray, or if you didn't pray, you walk from downstairs, dressed like a mensch, kiss your mother's hand, and to start the Seudah. Now, there was a Talmid Chacham, his name is Rabbi Tzion Abba Shaul. Rabbi Tzion Abba Shaul lived 15 to 25 minute walk from his mother's house, one way. One way! One day, It was Friday, and it was raining very bad in Yerushalayim, and he said, I have to go kiss my mother's hand. What do you mean raining? Rain, snow, not badly. And in Israel, in Yerushalayim, everything is a hill. There is no flat. I never yet met, even in Gaul Street, when you walk, there's that little ramp that you gotta walk either down or you gotta walk up. There is no straight. And he walks. And he's about to knock on his mother's door. And he stops for a second. And it's raining and he's getting wet. And he hears it's quiet. And what does he say? My mother's was probably still sleeping. If I knock, I'm going to wake her up.
So he waits.
And he waits. He waits 15 minutes. Under the rain. I just had a cigarette for 2 minutes. I was already getting wet. 15 minutes under the rain until he heard a little psiya, a little walk. He knocked on the door. His mother opened the door. He kissed her hands. He said Shabbat Shalom. And he went home. That's Kibud Avayim. Respecting parents. That's showing affection and love to your parents. You have to do all of your ability to show them the respect. And there's a mitzvah every day to go and to sit or to take a phone call to your father and mother. You have a mitzvah. The Lubavitch Rebbe, when his mother was alive, every day he would knock on the door to walk to his to see his mother and to say hi to her, to have a cup of tea with her. He would fix something, try to do something, and then he would walk home. Because there's a mitzvah to go and respect your parents. Yes. Hi Noah, how are you? How was work? Can you go shopping for me? Oh, get out of here. I'm tired. Well, come on, I've been up all day. I'm working. What did she already ask? Shopping? You killing yourself for shopping? 5 minutes later, girlfriend calls. You want to go out? Yeah, where are we going? What just happened? Were you bipolar? What just happened? No, you're not bipolar. Your priority for your mother and father is much less than for your girlfriend. That's what it is. That's what it is. And that's the message of Yaakov Avinu. And Yaakov Avinu says it black and white. Black and white. If you don't see it, you're blind. We see something also very interesting this week's parasha, which is the hint of Chanukah. We see Chanukah for the first time in the Torah. In this week's parasha. Yaakov Avinu runs back for what? Bottles. Ya Habibi, Yaakov Avinu, you're wealthy, you're rich. Why are you walking back? You had to cross a stream of water to go back for little containers. What were these containers?
Water.
Water? Let's find out. Oil. So, there's a couple of Mefarshim, and there's a Hasidic Sefer, I don't know the name, please forgive me, I forgot the name, that says that Yaakov Avinu was running back for what? For oil. Which oil? He inherited from his father and mother a jug of oil that came from the boat of Noah. What happened? Noah, when he sent the dove, what did the dove come back with? You don't know?
A branch.
Which kind of branch?
Like
An olive branch. And that olive branch had a lot of olives.
Hanukkah was after though.
Yes, you're right, it was after. And what happened? Noah crushed it and made olive oil. And this was given from who? What does it mean? It had the stamp of the Kohen Gadol. Whose stamp? You know who's considered the Kohen Gadol? Noach and Shem. They were considered Kohanim. That's how do we know this? We see later in 2 weeks from now when the Yehuda's daughter-in-law Tamar, when they thought she cheated, what did Yehuda say? What was her death penalty? Does anyone know? Burning. A Kohenet. Someone that's a Kohen, a girl that's a Kohen, that does things that she's not supposed to. Her death penalty is by burning. Not outside burning. The Torah doesn't burn outside, we burn inside. They open the mouth and they pour hot lead and it goes straight to the heart and it kills you instantaneously. Now, what happened? Why death through burning? The Gemara Masachet Makot, the first daf bet, daf gimel, says what? A woman that's a bad kohen, her punishment is what? Fire. From here we know that Shem, and who was Tamar? Tamar was the daughter of Shem. From here we see that Noach was a kohen. He was considered like a kohen. And he had the chatamo of Hanukkah on top of the seal. That's why he ran back for it. And what name did he get after he won the Malach HaMavet? What was his name changed to? Israel. Hanukkah is in 2 weeks. It's one of my favorite holidays. I want you now to prepare yourself for Hanukkah. I want you to make, specifically you, to make sure you buy the olive oil for Hanukkah that your father is going to light at home. If it's the ready prepared one, if it's the oil with the wicks that you got to buy, whatever, each one to his own derech. Make sure you buy it. And make sure when you buy it, you say that this that I'm buying should be a bischut for the merit to do nachat ruach for Hashem. I don't want anything in return. I want to do it lishma. I'm buying this oil lishma. The same way how my father is going to light the candle and it's going to light up the house, Hashem should light up my ear like the menorah. The power the menorah has, I'm going to give you another sigula that you should do. I'm hesitating to say, but I'm going to say it anyways. Take a quarter, make sure the quarter doesn't have any crosses on it, and put it under the menorah of your father. Under your father's menorah. Put it under your father's menorah, and the menorah that he's going to light for 8 days, make sure that quarter is there at all times. Only one quarter.
You do it first and look after?
No, you keep it in your pocket at all times.
You have it with
This
you
is for you a shmirah. Do I have?
I'm confused, what?
Let me see. Yes, I have.
from last year, right?
No, I have not last year's. I have from a couple years ago, and I don't have mine. I have some tzaddiks actually.
Yeah.
Right here.
Who's this salad?
I still have it.
Oh, I have that
I carry it with me all the time.
already.
It's my shmirah.
It's like his
What do you? It's not his luck. It's the power of the mitzvah was drawn down to a physical identity, and I keep it with me all the time. I have a lot of things that I carry around. I'm not gonna here now spill out all my secrets. A lot. I don't have no red ropa. I don't have that. I follow minhagim that are miduyak. Miduyak. The truth is, I did see my Rebbe one time with a red robe, and I asked him why he has it, and what did he tell me? My wife made me wear it. That's it.
Shalom.
I asked him, is there a source for this red robe? He laughed when he looked at me, and he walked away.
So you're telling Shalom Bayit is more powerful than mitzvot?
Wait. I'm not getting you going into different topics right now. First get married. One second, Rabbi Isai. Wait, I see the hand already. So what's the skula behind it? That this coin that you have, now don't think now this coin is now God. It's not God. That doesn't mean this coin is not. No, it's just it's like a shmirah. It's like. But what does this coin? Where does it get its power from?
What does shmirah mean?
Like a safekeeping. What is this? Where does this shmirah come from? It comes from the fact that he lit the menorah for 8 days. I know families that don't light the menorah candles. Jewish, religious. They go to shul every day, harvi, tefillin. They don't light candles. Bizyonot. I know families have a yolk on one side of their house, and they have a Chanukiah. Santa Claus comes, he lights the candles, then he sits down and says, ho, 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 and gives everyone gifts. What is this shiyah? Then you ask, why my child so confused growing up? He's confused because you're confused. How are you going to walk with a yolka in the same time like candles? Are you dafuk? Are you stupid? Are you crazy? Are you out of your mind? You should know all problems that happen in our life is our own doing. We don't realize this. We're easy to blame. We're very easy to blame. A person has to stop for a second and say, am I doing good or am I doing wrong? Am I doing right or am I doing wrong? I have a friend. He's much older than me. Listen to this story. Now, I'm not telling you to do this, but I want to tell you to the advance. He became religious. He has a lot of boys. He didn't give one sandak to his father. Not even one. Why? He said, listen, my father is Amar, so I don't want my kids to be like that. This guy, when his son got married and had a kid, didn't give it to him the sandak too. You know what he said? You're not as religious as I want you to be. The guy learns, he learns, so he's matmi. No, I want to give it to my Rebbeim better.
It's not right.
Ya Habibi. He comes to me and he sits down and he's an elderly man. He tells this to me myself. He tells it to me. He says, you know, he said, I was no don. I was a tupoy. He said, I was a fool. I said, what happened? He said, sometimes to be too smart is really not being smart at all. You know how many families I know got divorced because of this? Sandak, shmandak, shtuyot, dispaniyot. To break families, to make fathers and mothers feel a less of kivud avayim. Because of what? For him to sit on a chair and hold a baby? At that second, that father's doing the biggest tshuva of his life. He's so happy. Then Rosh Yeshiva, Shabbat Tzadikim, think he's doing tshuva like the father is, like the grandfather holding the son at that moment? You think so? I don't think so. I don't think so. I think that father or grandfather that might be in Amaretz, he's holding a baby and he's in cloud nine thinking about Hashem at that moment. He's my grandson, it's my son. How could I not be happy? How could I not want to do tshuva? Where did our kivud avayim go? It went to the garbage. Went to the garbage, Rabbi Yisai. Just push it like that. Black and white. I don't care how big your hat is and how long your beard is. Went to the garbage. If you don't know how to make the basic mitzvah, respecting your parents, then what are you? You're an animal. Animal doesn't have parents. Doesn't have. You human are differentiated. Why are we not like goyim? I tell you why. Because we know who our father and mother are. We're not doubted in it. That's why we don't need a Father or a Mother's Day. Because every day is Father and Mother's Day. And even the Goyim, they don't know who their father and mother is on Father's Day. Depends which side of the family they go. Is that Chaim? This is the kind of life you want to live? This is the example you want to give your kids? This is the exact father. Someone's father calls him, happened to me right in front of my face. I can't go. Why? My wife doesn't let me. What is this? What kind of nonsense is this? What was it? It's not that I have something wrong about women, but you want to raise good kids. You want your kids to love you, mamash love you and die for you. You make sure when his father, or not his, but whoever you marry, his father is going to say, Ya Habibi, I need this, I need that. Get out of the house. Father is calling you, Ya Habibi. Get out of the house. And the child sees this. You know what he sees? The most important people for me are who? My parents. Because if that's the sacrifice my father's doing, I'm also going to do it. It's just a fact. Fact of life. If a man doesn't respect his mother, he'll never respect you. If he doesn't respect his father, he won't look you twice. He'll get whatever he wants from you and put you on standby whenever he needs you. It's a fact of life. You like it or not, this is the reality. I know you want to be the center of his world. You should be the center of his world. But don't forget which world he came from. That's the difference. That's what people are forgetting. I have nothing else to say. I'm not here to praise myself, but I'm going to say something. I maybe shouldn't say it, but I'm going to say it anyways. My mother works in a mikveh. She doesn't drive. My father also doesn't drive. Yet he still has a license. He's a steerer, I don't know how. But he has his... He said when he came to America, Yaakov, back in the day, he came in the early 60s, late 70s, everything was mutah. You walk in, you know English, you don't know English, you got all your paperwork in one day. So he got his license. Now, I don't know if you know the schedule of a mikvah lady. Bonagid, they finish work at 11 o'clock at night. My brother and I have shifts when we pick up our mother. Now, being a newlywed in your early 20s, you think you want to leave the house at 11 o'clock? Yeah, Habib. You're in the middle of making Matan Torah. You're in the middle of making a Korotu Brakim at home, and suddenly you have to drop everything and you have to go pick up your mother? Yes. You want to know why? Kibud Avei. Because one day your kids, until today my kids tell me, until today my kids are already older, they say, you're going to take Bibi? You're going? And they see it. And they say, oh, Kibud Avei. And this will grow for them forever. Forever. Why? Because they see it at home. You are the greatest school for your kids. You are the greatest school. If you don't come with snoot, you think your daughter's going to come with snoot? Keep on dreaming. Even in your dream, it's not going to work. You don't come with the keep and tzitzit, you're forcing your kids to come with the keep and tzitzit. Who are you fooling? Come on. Honestly, ask yourself, Bennett. You know, it's like those parents that are uneducated, that don't know, barely know how to read English, and they're forcing their kids to be medical doctors. And so, I don't want to be a doctor. Like, I don't want to be a doctor. I don't want to be a lawyer. Why are you forcing me? It's good money. And look at you. You're a shoemaker. You don't even know how to read English. Now, I'm not making fun of those parents or those kids. You should strive to get a good education and be something and so on and so forth. But ya habibi, you are the example of your kids. You can't tell your kid not to eat bacon and you're eating it in front of his face. When I started smoking, maybe I shouldn't say it, I'm going to say it. Because I think it's letovat klal. My father didn't raise his voice at me, not even one time. Zero. He couldn't say anything. You want to know why? He's a smoker. He is a smoker. He was a smoker. You know when my mom beat me up? Oh, she beat me down. She beat me down. Ya habibi. You know why? She never put it in her mouth. You know why my mother sometimes gets upset when I drink? Because she never took alcohol to her mouth. You know why my father can't say anything? Because he drinks. Don't be a hypocrite. Don't say one thing and don't preach one thing and do something else. That's Yaakov Avinu. Kivud Avaim. That means today, not today already, it's late. Tomorrow, you're gonna not promise, you're gonna take upon yourself that every day, instead of your father calling you your mother, because they call you every day. I don't know what time of the day, but they call you. I know. Trust me, I get a lot of phone calls, Baruch Hashem B'lai Nara. You make sure you call them 1 minute before. I promise to you, you're going to not just make their day, they're going to think about you even more that day. I just want to know how you're doing. You're big? What happened? What do you need? Got into a car accident, Chassalam? What happened? Oh, that's exactly what's going to go in their mind. You might not say, no, I just want to know how you're doing, you know?
You think you have COVID.
Yeah, COVID or something happened. Why? But why am I telling you this? Because one day I promise you, you're going to be a parent. I give you my word. You're going to wait for the day your son's going to call you. You're going to ask yourself, how come my son calls my wife when he's not feeling well in school and doesn't call me? I want him to call me. Why? You're going to do this slowly, and trust me, I know sometimes they'll want to be on the phone with you for 10 hours. And sometimes they'll give you a Musar speech better than your Rosh Yeshiva. I promise you, these Rosh Yeshivas have to come to our houses and learn how to give Musar. They have to. If the Balei Musar would be alive, I would tell them to come to our houses. Trust me, the Musar we get, no one gets. But you know what? It's a mitzvah to shut your mouth and to listen to it and say, I'll try to change. B'li neder, I'm going to work on myself. Try it for 1 week. See how their relationship towards you is going to be totally different. Totally different! What happened? You started to give them some attention that they've been giving you all your life. Now, I know it's hard. And I know sometimes you're telling me, like, Rabbi, this time you pushed it. This shiur, you really pushed it. All the other shiurs, husband, wife, working on yourself, but to call my parents every day? I know people that are 40, 50 that listen to the shiur. I don't know when was the last time they called their parents. And their parents are alive. Chag b'chag they call. Why? He's my warning, my friends. He's my warning. I'm telling you, you're gonna thank me years to come. You're gonna thank me. Why? Because you're gonna be parents one day. Have a good night, everyone.